So I have a question. So me getting a Hello Kitty tattoo is promiscuous?
No, that's not what I said. So I think that,
No, what you said
yeah, so I
was
think there's a threshold here, right?
hold on. What you said was they're rebellious. You said promiscuous and like one other thing I can't
Lack
remember.
I
self-esteem.
said if they're
Yeah.
sleeved, right?
So
Those were my exact words. If they have
No, no, no,
sleeves.
you
sir.
didn't say that.
No, Andrew,
Yes, I
that is not
did.
what you said.
I will
Andrew,
bet you.
stop.
I'll give you
Andrew, stop.
$100 if we back this
When I'm
up. Oh
talking, stop.
man,
I'm a mod. Stop talking.
good
He
lord.
did say
Because what we're not gonna do at Expeditions, you shut up too, because I wasn't talking to you.
straw
You're
man
not
and
gonna be
all.
disingenuous on this Expeditions. I'm gonna drop you because we got other people in the queue. We don't need your stank ass up here. Andrew, you were being disingenuous when you said you were talking about specifically sleeves. You said any woman that has tattoos. You didn't. You clarified. Well, you didn't even clarify. You said with sleeves after you said women with tattoos lack self-esteem.
Well,
There's
no, I
something
said it's
else and they're
associated with that.
promiscuous.
So I wouldn't put anything in a monolith and say every woman who gets a tattoo lacks self-esteem. That would be silly. What I would say is that there's a good reason why people
But you
associate
did
these things.
generalize. Did
Yeah,
you mean
yeah,
to
I am making a
generalize?
general statement, but it's not a monolithic statement.
Well, what do you think generalization means?
Generalization can refer to, like, for instance, I like, chocolate milk, or a lot of people like chocolate milk. That would be a general statement. Does that mean all people like chocolate milk?
But you didn't say all, but go ahead.
I didn't say all.
Go
So
ahead. Finish your
anyway,
point.
so I think that the reason these things are associated this way, there's good reason for it, and I think that that's why people look down on it. So without strawmanning my position, I'd like a refutation.
What? Are you saying that this is really what's going on with women who get tattoos?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can actually look at body modification studies and links between BPD, other mental health disorders, and women who have a lot of body modifications. However, the same thing doesn't apply with men in body modifications, interestingly enough.
What studies have you been looking at that supports this?
Yeah,
statement?
so you can find a lot of these are linked from Scientific America. The one I'm looking at directly is National Institute of Health, National Institute of
Okay.
Health, NHGov, body modification and borderline personality disorder patients. They found a link there, and so there is associations which are there, which I understand.
Specifically for women, not men.
They don't appear to be as rigorous with men as with women. No.
Okay, I'm gonna look at these studies. Scientific America sounds like a conservative thing.
No. I was just saying Scientific America had the link to the actual study, and then I gave you the actual study, which is the National Institute of Health.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the name of this particular study? Because I'm interested to look it up.
Body modification and borderline personality disorder patient prevalence rates linked with non-unaliving self-injury and related psychopathology.
It's okay. That's too much, and you're talking too fast. I'll look it up somehow.
What was I
Okay.
about to say? I've heard of the study, but I don't believe that it fits all women.
It doesn't. Of course it doesn't. Nothing. So I would never make a monolithic statement. I'm just saying that there's good reason why
I
people.
didn't say you did.
Yeah.
I did not say
Okay.
you did.
Do you think that there could be good reason why people would look at people who body mod and think that they could be, looking for a lot of attention, or they body mod because, they have low self-esteem or various things like this, where the associations are there? Do you think that could be possible?
No.
No. Okay. Well, then, I mean, I don't. So then,
I'm
what's your
not.
position? Just people just
I'm not
do what they
saying
want.
that. I'm not saying that nobody does. I'm sure there's outliers that do, but I don't think most people do. No, not for attention at least. No,
Well, then, so they're just
or low
getting.
self-esteem.
So when a woman has like 30 face piercings, you think that she just does it because it's funsies?
Yeah.
You don't think that she's doing that because she wants everybody to look at her and she wants to get a lot of attention from it?
No. I
Okay,
don't.
then why do so few women do that then?
Because that's just their preference. It all boils down to preference.
Oh, it all boils down to preference. Okay, so,
Yeah,
but
because
don't
me
you think
personally,
preferences have reasons,
personally,
right?
hold on.
Okay.
Me personally, I wouldn't get it because I think it looks
Looks
ugly.
what? Wait, you think it looks trashy, right? You
Ugly.
think it looks trashy?
I
Yeah.
didn't say trashy. I said
Yeah,
ugly.
but
She said
that's
ugly.
what it.
She said ugly.
Okay, yeah, yeah. You think it looks ugly?
But that's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I
So
wouldn't do that, but I still have piercings. I just wouldn't get that many.
okay, that's fair. So like, let's say somebody ate puppies, right? It was their preference. That's what their preference was. You would think that that was really gross, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then you would probably make a judgment, even though they had that preference, that whatever reasons they had for why they were eating puppies, probably their preference was informed by something bad, right?
You said what? I'm sorry. I
That
like zoned out.
the preference for whatever made them want to eat puppies was probably bad. Whatever informed that preference was probably an experience that was bad or something like that.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's exactly the judgment people would make if you have 30 face piercings. It makes sense.
I didn't say they wouldn't. I literally just said.
But how does eating puppies and getting face piercings correlate?
Well, it's not. There's not a correlation between puppy eating and face piercings. What I'm doing is making an analogy and drawing a parallel between if you find behavior to be weird, odd, or disturbing, that you're going to make associative judgments with the person that they're weirdos, and so their preferences are informed by weird behavior, and so you're going to make those judgments about them. They're going to be put in an otherized category, right?
But I also acknowledge different cultural beliefs as well.
Wow. So that's
We
something
You
didn't
haven't
get your
been
age,
introduced yet,
We
so
didn't
you
get
need
your
to wait.
age.
Okay, let's just wait.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, because some people actually do go and do these tattoos and piercings for cultural reasons as well. But I get what you're saying. If you were to look at this study, it does link BPD with
Yep,
body modification.
it sure does.
And then, but I mean, if you were to look exclusively from this, then I guess you could say that is true in some cases. But as Kay said, not all.
Yeah,
'Cause some
but I would
people, again,
agree. Like I think
yeah,
I
and
think
mean,
we
you
yeah.
kind of did when you said you're not making this a statement about being monolithic or
Yeah,
anything.
correct. It's not a monolith. I wouldn't put anything in a monolith. I don't think that all women who do body modification have associative mental illnesses or even weirdos, and maybe they are just doing it because they just really, really like it and they're very artsy. However, that said, the reason cultural norms exist, and when people go against cultural norms, are put in the otherized category. So, like you make the point in another culture, like let's say in African culture, you've seen the African cultures where they will wear rings around their necks to stretch the neck, right? And that becomes a sign of beauty for the women. Well, they would be considered actually weird from their perspective if you didn't do that, if you didn't have the longer neck, right? But it would still, I would think they would see it as some form of otherization and category and think that there was something wrong with you or you were something of a weirdo, right?
I mean, that's true, but then that doesn't necessarily. I mean, but I'm trying to see how this correlates to this topic. Are you saying this is the reason why men look down on?
Yeah, I
women?
think men have good
Because
reason
they're
to.
othering themselves.
Yeah, so if you put yourself in the otherized category, which is often associated with behavior you don't like, then I think that you as a person naturally will make judgments about groups who do that. And that's part of like your human nature and part of your pattern recognition and part of the way people live their lives.
I mean, although I don't agree with you necessarily, I see that and I can understand that. So outside of the body modifications, such as the piercings or the abnormal piercings, we have to be specific because ear piercing is culturally acceptable.
Not for men. Not for men, it's not.
Well, we're talking about women in particular, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, we're talking about women in particular.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so outside of that, the abnormal body piercings, if you will, quote unquote, abnormal body piercings and tattoos, what about the wigs and the makeup and stuff like that?
I think so I think that this is exactly the same categorization. So if you go back like 40 or 50 years ago, people had a very distinct look if they were in like a biker gang. They had a very distinct look. You were going to be wearing like a patch jacket. You were going to have sleeves. You were going to, the whole 9 yards. There was going to be a distinct look. And so people would avoid people who had that look, even if they weren't actually bikers. They were just making associative judgments based on people who adopted a look like that. with people who behaved who have that look, right? And it's going to be the same thing with wigs. It's going to be the same thing with all sorts of things. So
Well, I would
culturally,
say
if a man wears a
wigs,
toupee, for instance, right, nobody's going to see that as being problematic. But
but
if
I would
yeah,
go
go ahead.
back. Hold on. With the wig thing, I would push back against that because while at one point it may have been socially unacceptable to wear wigs because it was seen as I guess you could say something that you would wear in certain occasions, like if you were in theater or something like that. Um, Wigs over time have taken a different, or well, not different approach, but has been viewed differently over time because now in modern times, wigs are seen as more socially acceptable. When you agree,
No, I think they used to be way more socially acceptable. Like men had to wear
you
wigs
said
and women
used
had to
to
wear
be.
wigs.
Are you talking about like when, like the powdered wigs and
Yeah, yeah, that was part of a daily life. When you're talking about like
but that was,
I
I get
don't
what
even
you're
think
saying, but that was
wigs
specific
are
to
socially
a certain class
unacceptable.
of people.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm talking
I
about
agree.
across the board now is
Yeah,
socially acceptable.
I do, but I don't even disagree with this point. I guess in essence, I don't think like women wear hair extensions. That seems to be fine. And there's women who wear wigs that look very good. That seems to be fine. It seems to be certain particular looks where people will style their hair in a certain way, where those associative judgments are made. And I completely understand why. It makes sense to me.
You'll be surprised how many men we have had come up here and say that simply just wearing weave is like they talk about women that just wear weave regardless of how it's styled.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I don't know enough about that particular in group that they're referencing from the cultural lens they're referencing it from. But if it is the case that they're seeing continuous, let's just pick a trait that men don't like promiscuity, right? They don't like promiscuity in women. If they associate the trait of a weave or something like this with promiscuity in women, then yeah, they're going to consider that to be a bad trait and they're going to avoid it, right? Or they're going to speak out against it or they're going to express their dislike for it.
I mean, I get that, but I don't understand why they would associate weave wearing with promiscuity. I guess because I don't know, maybe they may have had enough encounters with women who
We're
um
promiscuous and had a weave,
were
probably, right?
promiscuous and wore wigs. But I mean, I still feel like that's. I get why they would make that association, but I feel like that it's kind of a stretch, if you will, to me, to assume that everyone that wears a wig is promiscuous.
Well, yeah, but
Well,
I don't even think that there's. I think you can get people to say that, but that's not what they mean. I don't think that they think that just because you're doing X behavior that instantly means this, but that they're making these associations and behavior for kind of rightful reasons based on social experience, right? That makes total sense to me. So I'll give you a really good example, right? So
I get what you're saying
there's
in
a
that case.
specific look of body modification that a lot of women will
Mhm.
adopt with like a Brazilian butt lift and then a boob job and this type of thing, where I myself instantly associate promiscuity with that look because most of the women I've seen who adopt that particular type of look are very promiscuous and are very open about their promiscuity, right? So that's why I would make that judgment.
No, I get that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the men have a point on this one, is all I'm saying.
I mean, well, no, I wouldn't say they would
I
have a
wouldn't
point. I
say
would
that.
say you do because you've been the only one that has come up here and explained your stance with some logical sensing. I
Yeah.
mean, logical reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
A lot of these other men just come up and say, "Well, I don't like that. It's because blah 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 blah. I like a natural look." They don't go into depth and explain how they like may have had an experience and therefore associate X Y Z with this behavior. I mean, what you're saying makes sense. Although I mean, I kind of disagree with it. Not necessarily saying that you're wrong, but I feel like to assume or to look upon women this way just because you've had these few experiences with women who do wear makeup or tattoos or have a septum piercing, for instance, is kind of crazy to me. I get it, but it's kind of crazy to me.
I don't know. Don't you do it yourself?
Hold
Like,
on,
don't you
hold on.
make, don't you make
Give me 5 seconds.
no.
I'm sorry. I gotta pause the conversation. It's given very much. Why the is everybody talking shit about me in the comments? And I don't know y'all from the crack of my. I'm
Girl,
not
these
arguing with this
people.
man. I don't argue with people. So some man talk about this the first time he see me quiet, and then somebody else talk about I don't want to make myself look a fool because the Andrew's up here. Baby, if I disagreed with Andrew, I would most definitely say it. So please stop.
Well, I think
And
you guys have been very
K
respectful.
person, you don't know me from the crack of your ass. I don't know you from the crack of my. So let's not go there.
All right. Well, I won't take up any more of your guys' time. You've been very respectful on this panel, and I appreciate it.
Likewise.
Yeah, thanks for coming up
Yeah,
and being
thanks,
respectful.
Andrew.
Yep. Have a wonderful evening.